This all goes back to integrating your archetypes within yourself to be able to have a mature masculinity of some kind. What that does, or the way one ought to approach it in terms of integrating the archetypes and then the shadows of each archetype, is in fact to give that space for the shadow of each one to say, okay, I will explore this at this time when I cause the least amount of suffering, and I do not have to justify evil, selfish behavior to explore this particular thing. As you go through integrating these different shadow types, learning how to dialogue with your shadow, you can understand whether or not you have to own a thing in order to have an experience of a thing. I call this compassionate shadow integration, meaning that if I cannot integrate this part of my shadow compassionately and non-judgmentally, then I'm probably not ready for this, and I should probably leave it in my deep unconscious for now.
Right, so you don't want to let out a raging demon. You don't want to open up Pandora's box.
Yeah, you do not want to.
Suddenly causing all sorts of chaos and destruction.
Mm-hmm. One of the things I'm most excited about doing is going through and tackling the integration of shadow energy and anima energy in a compassionate way. I think a lot of times what people think is that in order to deal with my shadow, I have to slay some sort of dragon. I have to kill this thing. I have to take this chaos and I have to mash it into submission.
So it's like warrior. It's always got to be warrior energy. That's kind of what you're saying.
Yeah, or magician energy. I have to have complete psychological control over this thing.
Yeah, you're either slaying the dragons or you're like summoning the demons.
Yeah, or you're the lover and you are going to screw everything, and you are the Don Juan of this chaos. Or in this case, maybe you're the king and you know how to organize and you know how to appoint people to manage your chaos for you. And these are 4 shadow archetypes. This is the addict. This is the who's the shadow of the lover, right?
Yep.
The manipulator, or the ventriloquist, as I prefer to call. I prefer to call the ventriloquist the shadow of the magician. The tyrant.
That's good, ventriloquist.
Yeah, because I prefer, rather than manipulator and dummy, I prefer ventriloquist and puppet. Because the puppet says, I'm not responsible, but the puppet knows that its strings are attached to a thing. So in that way, it's kind of responsible for having attached its strings to a thing. Mm-hmm. So yeah, this ventriloquist puppet thing, you have the tyrant weakling, or what I prefer to say is tyrant and abdicator. Somebody who abdicates their throne is somebody who says, I don't want to be king anymore, and they get up and they walk away. And so rather than to say, oh, well, there's a tyrant king and there's a weakling king, technically speaking, the absence of king energy, let's say, would be abdication. The hyperactive warrior, he's just sadistic. He just wants to hurt and wound everything. And then the other one, it just wants to be hurt. It just wants to be wounded. It just wants to be codependent and hurt by everything. And then finally, for the lover, of course, you have addict. Some people say hermit, but I prefer addict and some sort of thing that connotates impotent. I prefer the addict and the loser. So what I'm really excited about is not to say, okay, here's how the archetype of the magician plays out. We're going to talk about that. But what I really want to say is the easiest way, I think, to integrate something is not to shoot for the positive. Like, whether it's Zarathustra or whether it's Dante's Inferno, William Blake's The Marriage of Heaven and Hell, Jung's Red Book, okay, all these sort of things, or Paradise Lost by Milton, and you can go on and on and on with all of these different kind of books, right? These are what I consider to be catabasis books, and we'll definitely go into catabasis, but the death of self, and we've talked about it on the...
Hey, real quick.
Yeah.
Just in case anyone made it this far and they have no idea what we're talking about.
Yep.
Quickly define shadow integration, and catabasis.
Your shadow is every value you have, but you don't know you have.
Okay. So you could say the same with like math.
Yeah.
You know, like you go back to like Pythagoras and stuff. They didn't invent any of that. They discovered it.
Yes. Oh, that's great. Perfect. Yeah. So in the same sort of way, in you, there is just the there that you're talking about. There's the sum total of things. Okay, so if values cannot be created, right, and that was Dostoevsky's argument on Crime and Punishment, is that you cannot create your own values. Nietzsche believed that you could create your own values, or that the Übermensch would, in fact, create his own values. But it's actually been pretty much the case that values are discovered, not created. So that's the thesis under which I'm working. So then that is your shadow. Your shadow is just the sum total of undiscovered values in you. Your shadow is not good or bad. People don't know how to healthily or in a healthy way explore the unknown.
Right. So that same energy that could cause you to do something unspeakable and, say, hurt somebody could also be the same energy channeled properly that
makes you be Mother Teresa. Think about what Mother Teresa did. She went around and hung out with lepers. She ventured into the unknown of crime-ridden Calcutta on a daily basis. Every single day she's venturing into the unknown, into the undiscovered.